Hello and welcome back to Lorehammer, the 40K podcast where we hang out with our friends. Hey, I guess I'm friend host number one, Marcus. Welcome. And we got Christian joining me.
Friend host number two to some, enemy to others.
Enemy to many, man. My wife manages the Lorehammer emails sometimes. Like, she just looks for business stuff. But the amount of times where she just says, why does everyone hate Christian? Why do they always tell him to go fuck himself? Like, every other email seems to have that, even if it's a business email. So I don't know.
We would love to run ads on your podcast. We just cannot have Christian have anything to do with our brand.
Nothing.
Utterly destructive.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining me. We also got friend host number 3, Jordan.
Yeah, I am the friend ho. That's what you said, right? Friend ho number 3.
Yeah. Always doing the back end stuff for us, if you know what I mean. Excellent. Yes, we're all here. Welcome to Lorehammer. Today we are doing the next kind of episode in this series we're running on the different segmentums. Today we're going to focus in on the Segmentum Obscurus. Pretty neat. But before we get into it, just some real quick housekeeping. Come join the Discord. There's apparently thousands of people on there. Maybe let's be generous and let's say 90% of them are bots. But hey, that's still 300 people on there. It's a lot of people. Come hang out on the Discord. If you need links, there's links in the description below.
And you can always help support the show via Patreon. You can join the Imperial Tithe and support the show ad-free version for only $2.50 or the video version for $5. And do you get perks on Discord there for joining the Patreon? I think you get a cool little color name change and some other little fun stuff.
Yeah. There's a couple different Discord tags you can collect by donating. You could be the first one to collect them all, and I'll just keep making them and just keep charging you. Oh, here's a purple tag. You got to collect this one now. So every time somebody does, I do that. But hey, you can try to beat me.
And if you are a Patreon, and you can also join the live stream live. You don't have to watch it or listen to it. Wait to listen to it later when it's released on the podcast feed. You can jump in while we're live and in action, and we also have a chat room going during the show which you can participate in, and we also do take call-in guests at the end of the episode, so all the patrons are welcome to that as well. Just please wear a shirt.
Yeah, or at least full body paint yourself, no exposed skin, but I will accept body paint, as Grim did one time.
Did he paint himself green? Was he
did
cosplaying an orc?
Yes, he was.
Did he do it like with Citadel paint and a little Warhammer paintbrush?
That would be so expensive.
Yeah, who could afford that? Yeah, we can only hope that that's what happened. Him and just 10 other dudes. He stood there like they were armoring the Astartes, you know. But yeah, no, they're just painting Grim. That's fun. So you can be a call-in and you can do something like that, I guess.
Surprise us.
Surprise us. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, today's episode, the Segmentum Obscurus. This is the third one of these that we're doing. The last one I really enjoyed doing because I kind of have been adding my own little unique twist to 40K, you know, some of my own updates. In the last one, we did some segmentum splitting, and in this episode, we did the same thing. So it's fun kind of coming up with like different capital sectors and fortress segmentums and what happens to the fleet now, all those kind of fun things that we did on the last one. But yeah, in this episode, we're going to be doing all that, talking about fortresses, battle fleets, different capital capital sectors on like the north side of the Great Rift and the south side. Then some other celestial objects, kind of just, you know, setting the groundwork so one day I can dive into what the hell are the Halo stars. But first, this.
Yeah. So just a quick summary of kind of what we've been saying over the last few episodes. Let's get into what the Segmenta Majoris are. The galaxy is divided into 5 great segmentums, each a vast administrative division of the Imperium of Man. Segmentum Solar lies at the heart, containing Terra, Mars, and the Imperial Palace itself, making it the most prominent and heavily defended of all. Ultima Segmentum, the largest, covers the galaxy's eastern reaches and includes Ultramar, Baal, the Tau Empire's borders, making it a crucible of both hope and disaster after the Great Rift's opening. Segmentum Obscurus stretches across the north, scarred by the Eye of Terror, where the Imperium's armies eternally battle the forces of chaos. Segmentum Tempestus, though the smallest, is fiercely militarized, home to the famed fortress world of Bacca and numerous navy bases that guard Imperial traitors. Finally, Segmentum Pacificus, thought seemingly quiet and far from the galaxy's most infamous war zones, is riddled with rebellions, warp storms, and mysteries, proving that no corner of the Imperium is truly at peace.
Yeah, I like how every sector has its own vibe and flavor. Yeah, that just is bound to happen when you divvy it out like that. But you can almost really get some fun themes. Like if you go west, it's close, but it's not very explored. So if maybe you're looking for like some more adventure, you go out west. If you want some real adventure, then you go far, far east. If you want some chaos, you go up north. You just kind of got these different parts of the galaxy where not only is the Imperium highly like involved, but also all the other major players. You kind of can point to any segmentum and find all the races or most of the main factions even.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of the early conversation we had with Rick Priestley, where when he designed Warhammer, it was designed to be really regionalized, where like Space Marines were affixed to certain areas of space by their chapters. So you can still kind of feel that flavor.
I like that. Like it makes sense. I was thinking about Star Wars versus 40K, and it always comes down to, well, Star Wars has light speed, so they just win. They just win on sheer logistical travel. Because in 40K, yeah, you shouldn't be traveling very often. It might take you months, might take you millennia. You might not ever get there at all. So yeah, it makes sense that you have chapters who are usually like founded to guard specific areas, or you got these like highly populated areas where the Imperium, it just naturally will go there and spread out from there, or just all these different little spots. But yeah, I like that too, what he was kind of saying about just making things kind of isolated, but also you can still kind of spread some things out a little bit.
Yeah, like there's still room for both types of stories. Obviously, in recent years, especially 40K has evolved and become a lot more like centralized heroes that are galaxy spanning. But the original intention was to keep it more segmented and like have these like little patches of the galaxy that you could tell your stories in that are part of this grander narrative, but kind of really isolated.
Yeah.
And just a correction, Mark, it's hyperspace. Hyperspeed.
Oh, what did I call it? Hyperdrive?
No, you called it light speed. I don't think they use light speed technically, but in Star Wars.
Dumb bitch. Hey?
Yeah, they do, Jordan.
Is there a light speed travel?
Han says jump to light speed.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Oh,
how many drinks in are you, Jordan? Be honest.
Well, the usual term for long distance travel is hyperspace.
Yeah. Which is like more, I think it's even more warm. It's sort of like blended wormhole tech almost.
Yeah.
Like it's not quite
like bending space time kind of, but
yeah. It is my logistical takeaway though still kind of valid though. Like it's quick. It's
yeah. It's
way faster than 40K by
hyperspace is like faster than light speed.
Yeah, because even light speed would take years or decades.
Oh yeah, okay.
Traveling.
Yeah.
I now just got the different of what you're saying. Yeah. Okay.
All right, let's get into the let's not debate the finer points of the Star Wars universe, and we'll get into the Segmentum Obscurus. Also called the Segmentum Obscura, is the northern reach of the Imperium, a haunted frontier stretching beyond Terra into the abyss. Here lies the Eye of Terror, the vast unblinking wound in reality itself, fortress of the dark gods, cradle of demons, and spawning pit of unending heresies that bleed ruin into the galaxy. From the bastion world of Cypria Mundi, the Imperial Navy and Segmentum Command direct their eternal war, a crucible of vigilance, where duty never sleeps and failure means damnation. Obscurus is scourged more than any other segmentum, ground beneath the boots of traitors and the iron tide of Abaddon's Black Crusade, each thrust of his spear seeking Terra's heart. Thus, the segmentum swarms with imperial armies, a host unmatched since fires of the Horus heresy, drawn blade bare and watchful against the 12th hour's chime of the 13th Black Crusade in 999 M41. With the birth of the Great Rift, most of the Obscurus was severed, drowning in the Imperium Nihilus, where the Astronomicon flickers like a dying star. And yet, though stranded beyond hope, the warriors of Obscurus endure, unyielding, unsleeping, staring into the dark, and holding the line for mankind.
Yeah, this area is just scourged by chaos. After the Horus heresy, they all fled north to the Eye of Terror. And
it's sort of a fun little house of horrors in the
yes,
in the
yeah.
already house of horrors that is the 40K universe. It's an extra
you
layer.
go visit a demon world, and you're like, oh yes, actual rivers of blood, boiling rivers of blood, perfect. Yeah, there are all types of fun places in the Eye of Terror. You've heard many times me talk about the Great Rift and how fucking cool it is. They ripped the galaxy in half. We're going to dive into how that happened, because it all spawns from the Eye of Terror, and, chaos and Abaddon, as he said. So this period of time is called the Noctis Eterna. Very cool 40K name there. We did an episode on this, like, it would have been around episode like fucking 20 to 30. Like, it was pretty early on, and the rift had just happened, and I don't think they had this cool name yet. And maybe a couple more little details, if you're keen, you can pick up on. The Noctis Eterna, named in the Hushed Terror as the Blackness and the Days of Blinding, was a galaxy-spanning cataclysm that engulfed the Imperium of Man in 999 M41. Dragging humanity into the abyss and carrying its shadow far into the 42nd millennia and the Era Indomitus. It began with the death of Cadia, shattered beneath Abaddon's fury and the birth cry of the Great Rift, a wound across creation that split the Imperium asunder. In its wake, the Astronomicon's beacon was drowned, and every telepath's voice was smothered in the howls of the warp. For Terra, the blackness endured 33 days, but for the worlds farther afield, decades and even centuries of silence passed. Entire systems were abandoned to isolation, their screams swallowed in the void, as nightmares not seen since the Age of Strife descended upon mankind's domain. So great was the turmoil, the tumult, that no records endured. Histories burned, reports fractured, and the truth itself warped. When the first flickers of contact returned, the scribes and chronotechs of the Imperium struggled to piece together a tapestry woven of blood and madness. The warp bled into reality, stretching and twisting time itself. In some regions, years spread by a blink. In others, eternity dragged across moments, all measured against the cold heart of Terra, where the Emperor's throne endured. In time, the storm's edges dimmed, restoring tenuous channels of travel and command. Then came the Indomitus Crusade, a blazing counterstroke that reforged the Emperor's will in the Imperium Sanctus. Though the Imperium Nihilus remained a kingdom of shadow, cut from his light. The toll, however, was grievous beyond reckoning. Nearly half of the 1,000 Space Marine chapters vanished into silence, and no fewer than 12 chapter homeworlds were confirmed as ashes, obliterated in the crucible of Noctis Eterna and the unending wars that followed. Whew! Shit, this is a crazy time period. I think what I've focused in on the most when writing this and kind of researching this was the flicker in time that happens across the galaxy. So you have some places that remain in sync with Terra, and you have some now that have jumped 100 years into the future. Some might have even jumped back or slowed down a little bit. It creates this very interesting thing, because all of a sudden you could jump to a very well-known planet that could have flicked forward 1,000 years and now is just like either super technologically advanced or in ruin.
Yeah, I love the way 40k plays with time with the warp. Like it's such a unique aspect that like, and you could have it all happening simultaneously, right? This one planet, like you said, goes forward in time, one jumps back, one slows down, one it was only been a day that passed, even though like 10, 15 years passed in the real world. Like it just messes everything up, which is really cool.
Yeah, like would they be aware of events that haven't even happened yet if someone from outside of their time zone came in? Like could they be, I don't know. I don't even know how they would see such events. But
Yeah, I don't think they would be aware because everything's just like everything's black and shut off and reset and like
yeah.
Just like anything, you just got to unplug the universe and plug it back in. And start working again.
It's easy. Yeah, that was cool. We know about like warp travel and how if you're in the warp, you get the time fuckery, but this was galaxy wide.
Yeah. Yeah, and it also opens the door for so much storytelling opportunity, right? If you want to mess around with a little bit of time travel, I wouldn't get crazy with it, but it does give opportunity for people and their like chapters or their Imperial Guard units or whatever faction they like to play to come up with a really unique story for their personalized Warhammer army.
Yeah.
Now here's my only pushback with introducing time dilations in any kind of story is it's often used as a way to reset the story because you don't like where it's gone. So you can just so Star Trek is the famous example that their whole universe has sort of been reset because of time. It sort of feels sometimes, I'm not saying that they're necessarily doing that with this, but it does seem like they could leave the door open if they ever wanted to do a reset on any part of the story. And maybe that's a good thing, but maybe it's a bad thing where they're not able to stick to the courage of their own convictions about what they wrote. But
they gave themselves an out, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's so funny.
People always talked about how, is 40k going in the direction of old Warhammer Fantasy where they kind of destroyed the world and then kind of introduced their Age of Sigmar setting. And then they ended up going back and reintroducing the old world because it was still so popular. If they ever tried that with 40k, it'd be like, oh, no, go back, fix it.
Go back. They haven't even destroyed it yet. Like, in theory,
I think that's
they
what
did
they kind
to
of
me personally, but I feel like go back, take me back.
I do wonder if that's kind of where they were going to go, and then once they saw the Sigmar reset, they kind of maybe got cold feet about doing that to 40k because 40k is so much more popular. I don't know that, obviously. I'm just guessing, even though I was guessing about their Ultramarine stuff and was pretty bang on about those releases. But
Profit, over there.
Yeah, profit of GW. I was gonna comment quickly too. Just sometimes time travel can lead to like really stupid paradoxes and stuff, or like it can become a lazy storytelling crutch. However, the time dilation stuff has always been part of the 40k narrative, so it always depends on how time travel is introduced versus like a cheap gimmick, or it's like central, like Terminator is central to the story. But as progressively bad Terminators have come out, they've kind of gotten lazy with it.
I do think that they've sort of written almost, I would say, written the antidote to that, in that the time dilations are localized, and it would have to be like if you wanted to like reset the story in any meaningful way, you'd have to do it like galaxy wide. Yeah, and so it probably wouldn't work. Now maybe if you wanted to go on like a fun little like rabbit trail or something, and someone wants to write a one-off novel or something like that, where in one universe something crazy different alternate happens, but you have to like go to that little part of the segmentum in order to
pocket dimension.
Yeah, exactly. It maybe leaves a slight open door for some fun storytelling, but doesn't actually make it possible to rewrite the entire or anything like lore changing,
I could be wrong too about this, but like my impression too was like in 40k you don't really ever go back in time. You can slow time. So like I think we have one example really of an orc who goes back in time to find his own gun, and then he does. I think that's really the only good example of somebody actually going back in time as opposed to just slowing time down, which seemed to happen in this state. Like, I don't think any planets necessarily jump back in time. So now it's like all of a sudden we get the Rock reforged back into Caliban, and it's like, you know.
Yeah. Or it's like you're back to the Horus Heresy days.
Exactly. It's
Yeah,
more just like, it has been slowed down in this place, so now they're behind, so they're back in time, but they're not actually back in time. They're just
they didn't go backwards through time. They just time dilated so that they moved slower, and then that dilation can make you feel as if you actually went forward in time as well, right? If you're the one that slows down in time to such a degree, to you a day passes, but 1,000 years passes in the galaxy, and we have examples of that.
God.
There's like so a Dark Angel's character, a lot of the Fallen get propelled through the warp and launched into the future, right? So to them it's been a blink of an eye. Even the entire Chaos faction that runs into the Eye of Terror, to them time passed much slower than the galaxy outside. So again, that's a result of dilation, not so much that they got thrown into the future, rather time just slowed for them to such a snail's pace that everything else went ahead around them.
It's fun talking to smarter people than me, because I'm starting to learn that dilation means just like time dilation is like slowing it down.
Not just what you do to your butt, eh?
Yeah, no. That's what I do to my butt. I'm trying to make a fucking black hole down there. Anyway.
I've done that once or twice.
Yes. Where do you think I learned it from? Okay, well, the other couple fun things in this little section was half the Space Marine chapters were destroyed. Oops. Oopsie doozy. Was somebody just getting a little overzealous there? Because it seems like lots of them survived, but
just the good ones.
Just the good ones. But hey, man, I guess that is fucking canon now.
Yeah, that's crazy, because already 1,000 chapters didn't feel like enough, and then they get cut down to 500, like, give or take. Obviously, it was probably not exactly 500, but nor was it exactly 1,000 chapters. Likely, I'm sure there's a couple that the Administratum lost track of that still exist out there, just not on the record. But
yeah.
And
then the final part I'd like to bring up real quick before we move on is, we know about the Imperium Nihilus on the far side of the rift, but I learned what it's called on the other side. I thought it was just called the Imperium, but it is technically called the Imperium Sanctus. But Imperium would work. But I don't think you can call the Imperium Nihilus Imperium no more. You have to add that Nihilist.
Nihilus, yeah. Just a quick pseudo-Latin rant here, just because we're throwing so many pseudo-Latin names out. The Noctis Eterna is like eternal night. Segmentum Obscurus is like hidden or like darkened. So, and that was before the Great Rift. It was called Segmentum Obscura, right? Because it's, I think, because the Astronomicon flickers so dimly in that area. So it's like the darker part of the galaxy, the hidden. And then obviously Nihilist is nothingness. And then what was that last thing you said? Imperium Sanctus. You want to read Fuzz's?
We also got the Imperio Fuctus, which I would like you to expand a little bit what that is, Fuzz. I haven't heard of it, but I'd like to learn more. Click link.
His own fan fiction Segmentum that he created.
Is that where he's making the black holes?
It's Slanesh's new domain. And then Imperium Sanctus is like Holy Imperium, which would be obviously the side where Terra is on. So
cool. We got some more fun naming stuff and wordplay later in this episode. Always fun to play games with words.
Yeah. All right. Let's get into the Great Rift map redraw. Some Imperial administrators and cartograph scribes laboring in the aftermath of the Great Rift have dared propose a redrawing of the galaxy's holy maps to reflect its new wounds. The Cicatrix Maledictum has split the stars in twain, casting the southern half of the Imperium into the light of the Astronomician, while the northern expanse drowns in the void of the Imperium Nihilus. More grievous still, Two great segmentums, Ultima and Obscurus, were carved in half by the warp's abyss, forcing the scribes to coin new names for these sundered realms: the Ultima Nihilist Segmentum and the Segmentum Obscura Nihilist. Such terms are spoken with reluctance, for name a shadow is to acknowledge its dominion. Yet the Imperium's chronicles are bound to chart even the darkness, that future generations might know the lines where mankind held fast against the night.
Yeah. So, we mentioned this in the last episode. The Great Rift, it's cut these segmentums in half. So we got to kind of reevaluate what they are. So I basically cut it in half where, you name the far side, nihilist, you add that into the segmentum name and you should be good. We got some suggestions that were later on. We'll kind of go into the Imperium Nihilists and the Segmentum Obscurus and one more thing. And yeah. Fuzz came back to us and it says, everything on the other side of the Great Rift is fucked. Therefore, Imperium fucked us. Yeah, I get it. Okay, I'm checking. I'm tracking. All right, so the Imperium fucked us. Tell us more.
Right. Well, we'll get into the Imperium Nihilist, which I guess falls into the Imperium fucktus.
I think it's like you got like high Gothic, low Gothic, and slang Gothic. So Fuzz is speaking slang Gothic right now.
Okay, the Imperium Nihilist exists as a shadow half of the Imperium, severed from Terra by the yawning wound of the Great Rift. Its worlds plunged into darkness, where the Astronomicon cannot guide, and hope is a memory. It endures because it must, for to abandon it would be to surrender half of mankind's domain to the abyss. Command falls to Lord Regent Dante of the Blood Angels, burdened by Gilliman with the impossible charge of shepherding a realm cut off from the Emperor's light. Its struggles are endless, isolated fleets fighting wars they cannot win, star systems devoured by demons, and entire sectors reduced to silence as astropathic cries fall to pierce the veil. Yet despite famine, rebellion, and the weight of encroaching heresies, the Imperium Nihilist continues to exist not through the strength of arms alone, but through faith, sacrifice, and the unyielding resolve of warriors and citizens alike who refuse to let the Emperor's name be extinguished in the dark. So that's the Nihilist.
It's a good place to be, If you like heroic last stands, which we know we do, it's a great place to be.
All those chapters that died didn't actually have to die. They just all went into last stand mode and just got themselves annihilated.
Yeah. It was intentionally unintentional. You get carried away in a last stand and all of a sudden you lose a whole chapter.
All your friends are dead. All right, let's get into the Segmentum Obscurus Nihilist. On the far side of the Great Rift, the Segmentum Obscurus Nihilist lies severed from Terra's light, its worlds adrift in a sea of endless night. The Astronomicon's guiding flame is but a memory here, and the Emperor's commands echo faintly, carried only by broken vox and the whispers of astropaths half mad from the strain. Alone and surrounded by the endless tides of the arch-enemy, pouring from the Eye of Terror, Obscurus Nihilist clings to survival with iron resolve. Its only steady lifeline lies to the east in the Ultima Nihilist Segmentum, another scarred and shadowed region that shares in the same damnation. These two broken halves of the Imperium, though sundered from the throne, look to one another for aid, for in their shared isolation they find the only measure of hope left, the strength to endure and to fight on until the last world burns.
Might as well. Might as well.
We kind of mentioned in the Ultima Segmentum episode too that like Ball is located there, and that Dante is appointed as kind of like the Imperial Regent on the Nihilist side. That's something we've also glazed over. Is like, yes, the galaxy is broken in half. Yes, you can traverse it. It's just way more difficult and harder, like more dangerous. But also communication is cut off as well. Like it really is, you're not getting clear communication from Terra. Like things are truly broken. It's not just that you can't get there. It's like you don't even know what's going on because you can't communicate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There is one section that goes through the Great Rift called the Noctilet Gauntlet. I forget exactly what it's called. We do talk about it in this episode at the very end, where, yeah, like you said, you can get through. There are some of these spots, but yeah, it's a different galaxy now. So, we're kind of saying we cut in half and we add the nihilist, but on the last episode, you had some good suggestions of possible other names instead of just adding nihilist. And maybe before you tell them, we'll also mention the Segmentum Obscurus can also be called the Segmentum Obscura. So maybe depending on how we want to play with these words, you use one or the other, but
Yeah. I mean, like, it's all GW is like really loose with their pseudo Latin, so like it doesn't have to follow typical Latin language
yeah.
constraints. So you can really kind of mess with it and do what you want with it, but it's usually rooted in a real Latin word.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for the splitting of the Ultima Segmentum, I proposed maybe the idea of calling it meta. Meta is beyond in Greek. And Ultima is like final or farthest.
Okay.
So it's beyond the farthest point.
Yeah.
And meta is just like it like follows in the same naming convention of the rest of the galaxy. So
Yeah.
it'd be like the Segmentum meta or Obscura meta or any combination of meta, Segmentum, Obscura.
I think
nihilist.
I like that. Meta segment. No. Yeah. Any of them would do. Every administrator is going to write it slightly different, just like dates and Americans and Canadians, just slightly different.
One is obviously superior than the other, though.
Yeah, for sure. We know which one, but whatever.
Yes. We all know. We don't have to say it. We all are fully aware which is most superior.
Real date calendar people know. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool suggestion you put in the notes there, Mark, is also to call it Omega, though, which also kind of has that connotation of like last or final. So Segmenta Omega sounds really cool.
Yeah. I was thinking like I was thinking, maybe don't name them like the Ultima Meta Segmentum, change them just so you could have the Meta and the Omega, because one is far away, like you said, which is the east section. It's the biggest, it's the farthest, where one is like the end. Like you go up north, chances are good that's the end. Like you go into the Eye of Terror, you go in the heart of chaos.
Yeah. So that one's equally cool, I think. I like Omega.
And then we had one other final one, just playing off of just what we kind of have already with the maps in the universe existing.
Yeah. So with the Segmentum Obscurus Pacificus, which kind of we mentioned early on in the episode, where like Pacific comes from calm, right? It's the passive, peaceful. It's a root Latin word. But because we have the Pacific and the Atlantic Ocean, I thought maybe we should name it Atlanticus. Not just for that though, because also obviously the Atlantic Ocean is named after the lost city of Atlantis, which is a lost region of space to the Imperium. So it would be like a double entendre of ocean and
yes. Now you're talking my language, double entendre. Yeah, okay. I think the Atlanticus is nice. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I think that's
sense.
what we do. Atlanticus up north, and then the meta can still be for the east segmentum, because I think that ties in really nice there. Yeah. Well, we'll dive into the other part of the segmentum that we haven't talked about, the one closer to the eye, or closer to Terra. The southern reaches of the Segmentum Obscurus, where it borders the hollowed Segmentum Solar, have long stood as the Imperium's bulwark against the endless tides of the north. Once the first line of fire against the horrors spilling from the Eye of Terror, the regions bore the brunt of Abaddon's Black Crusades, with fortress worlds such as Cadia standing immovable for 10 millennia, their sacrifice buying the Sol system itself precious time. Now, with the birth of the Great Rift splitting reality asunder, the south of Obscurus faces even greater trial, its skies torn and its sectors besieged anew by demonic legions and traitor fleets. Yet even in ruin, the people look to the heroes who will still endure, warriors such as the sons of Fenris, whose defiance proves that the Imperium spirit cannot be broken. Yeah, so even though they're close to Sol, it still got worse for them. Where once they had like this super chokehold 300 type, we can fight infinite numbers zone area with Cadia, where you can just funnel people into there and just have this massive fortress world. That's no more. They're getting besieged from this huge line now. So no more can you just kind of try to maintain one battlefront.
All right, shall we get into the Segmentum Fortress? For over 10 millennia, the Imperium Segmentum fortresses have stood as unyielding sentinels, their walls weathering the ceaseless storms of war, rebellion, and the encroaching powers of chaos. In the north, the Segmentum Obscurus nihilist counts Cypra Mundi among these enduring fortresses, ancient and battered, yet unbroken. Its ramparts still bristling with defenders who wage endless war to preserve what little light reaches them from the distant emperor. Meanwhile, in the south, Fenris and the Fang in the Segmentum Obscurus long claimed renown as one of the greatest bastions in the galaxy, a monument to the emperor's vigilance and the martial spirit of his sons. Yet, the birth of the Great Rift and the redrawing of the galaxy's boundaries have elevated new worlds to this sacred status, recognizing their indispensable role in holding the Imperium together.
Yeah, cool. So these kind of Segmentum fortresses where they will just last for millennia. And all of them have so far that we've covered. However, the Cypra Mundi, the original Segmentum fortress world, is on the north half of the rift. So now when we're looking at the south side, we need a new one. I kind of think Fenris makes perfect sense. For the longest time in the lore, as long as I can remember, the Fang, the fortress world, or the fortress chapter fortress of the Space Wolves, has always been one of the biggest fortress keeps in the galaxy. It's always been like that. So it just makes sense that we should nominate that as the Fortress Segmentum.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of the chapter stronghold planets make the most sense, especially in a time of war. We did bring up the fact in our earlier episodes that originally a lot of these key fortress worlds weren't actually chapter-based planets, which we thought was kind of odd at the time. But now thinking about it, like, okay, they're on the, in the mess of things, it does make sense to move your fortress world to like a chapter's homeworld that is already like probably a little beacon of stability in like a world of chaos.
Yeah.
Both figuratively and literally.
Sure, they steal your children, but the trains run on time, so it's okay.
Oh my gosh. Don't know if you want to make that comparison. But,
yeah. Yeah, so the
there are no trains on Fenris, Mark.
Yeah. Okay, the Segmentum Obscurus Fenris. Fenris is a savage death world in the southern Segmentum Obscurus, a forged cradle and eternal recruiting ground of the Vulca Fenrica, the Space Wolves, chapter of the Adeptus Astartes. It was also the homeworld of their primarch, Layman Russ, whose shadow still looms over the icy wastes. At its heart stands the Fang, a fortress monastery of titanic scale, whose walls have repelled innumerable foes, and which many Imperial scholars revere as the greatest bastion of mankind outside the Imperial Palace on Terra itself. That will be interesting. Like, that is old lore, but as we talked about Baal, man, they built Imperial Palace 2.0. They even got their own starport thing, like the Phalanx. They got their own version of that called Starfall. So maybe this isn't the biggest now, but fuck, man, it's a big place. Perched on the frontier near the Eye of Terror, Fenris endures constant threat from the forces of chaos that spill from the warp rift to pillage and corrupt. Here at the edge of the Imperium, the Space Wolves maintain a vigil begun at the close of the Horus Heresy. their warrior fury defending not only their world, but 100 scattered systems around the Fenris sector. Their dimensions, I don't know what word I was trying to spell there.
Domain, maybe?
Yeah, maybe domain. The domain stretches across frozen stars and dead worlds, yet it is the bitter, merciless heart of Fenris that they call home, standing eternal against the darkness that would devour humanity. If you're watching the live stream, I'm going to pull up some pictures of the Fang, and we got some cool maps and stuff and some drawings, but this is the one that I kind of look at. I don't know if you can tell, but it's cool, man. You just got this hollowed out mountain that just fill up with stuff.
It's like a vertical cross section for our listeners. It's I believe it comes from an old codex, but it's a really cool breakdown of what the Fang, their fortress, looks like.
Yeah, I think I got a closer up one here that I'm trying to pull up. Yeah, a little better. The Fang has a lot of stuff in it, man. Like Space Wolves obviously are super popular, and I wrote a little bit about it, but it deserves its own episode, man. There was so much there, but I'll let you tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, so here's our quick little summary on the Fang. The Fang is the legendary citadel of the Space Wolves chapter, forged under the command of Primarch Leman Russ during the earliest campaigns of the Great Crusade. This titanic fortress monastery serves as both home and bastion for the Vilka Fenreka, carved into the icy heart of Fenris, a death world of unending storms and merciless cold. At the center of the northern Frisian polar continent of Azaheim, a range of jagged peaks pierces the sky, their summits lost to the thin air above. The tallest of these rises like a gnarled fang from the spine of the world, dwarfing every other mountain around it. Upon the apex stands the Fang itself, a fortress built into the very rock, its spires and battlements clinging to the mountain as if the planet itself had birthed it to guard mankind. Through all across the Imperium, it is known as the Fang. The Space Wolves call their fortress simply the Ayet, or Yuvik, the Phoenician tongue of Low Gothic, meaning clan home, or hearth, or den. Crafted in the fire of the Great Crusade, it is reckoned one of the Imperium's mightiest bastions, surpassed only by the walls of Terra. From its heart, a single monstrous peak rises into the darkened sky, a conical pinnacle that seems torn from the very mantle of Fenris itself, unmatched in scale and terror, a testament to enduring fury of the Emperor's sons. Lots of minor details about the Fang later and more. We'll do more specific episodes on it. So there's a lot, like you said, like it is quite fleshed out. There's a lot of history there too. Stuff happens there.
Yeah, like it gets sieged a bunch of times. Yeah, they got a bunch of different cool locations that are all very like Viking themed, like the Hold or Hammerhold or just whatever.
I do love like just the whole aesthetic and the like cultural undertones. It's very it's
Viking coded.
Yeah.
There's one other picture in the John Blanche style. That one's not as epic, but still pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, I like to picture that's maybe one tower amidst many peaks.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So that's what I nominate as the Fortress Segmentum, or the Fortress World. And if we go up north to the Obscura Atlanticus, Cyprimundi. Cyprimundi is an Imperial forge world and the foremost naval and military bastion of the Segmentum Obscurus, the Segmentum Majoris of the Imperium of Man that guards the gateway to the Eye of Terror. As it stands as Segmentum Fortress, a mountain of steel and ceramite whose docks and armories bristle with the fury of the Emperor's will. The fortress is commanded by the Administratum's master, and an official whose authority ensures that the endless machineries of war never falters and that the Segmentum's fleet remains ever vigilant. Perched on the northern fringe of the galaxy, Cyprimundi is also the crater of the Imperial naval officers for the Segmentum, drawn from the aristocracy and tempered in the traditions of vigilance, loyalty, and sacrifice. Little of the world's early history survives, save that it was likely discovered and colonized by Mechanicum explorators during the Dark Age of technology. During the Great Crusade, the armored legions of the 8th Legion, later called the Ultramarines, halted an orc invasion across the ash plains of Cyprimundi, saving millions from a brutal death and bringing the world into the Emperor's expanding dominion. Entire sub-sector economies bend toward the service of Cyprimundi, producing, supplying, and sustaining the Imperial Navy's vast armadas, their forges humming in relentless devotion, feeding the ever-hungry engines of war. Its orbital yards are renowned for crafting Overlord-class battle cruisers. Vessels are rare as they are formidable, constructed with precision to unleash devastation upon the enemies of mankind. Though centuries old in design, these warships remain deadly and true, with new ships commissioned only once each solar decade. On rare occasions, Cyprimundi will produce capital-class vessels for the richest dynasties of the Imperium, warships wrought to extracting specifications, symbols of power and prestige. When Abaddon the Despoiler unleashed the 13th Black Crusade in 999 M41, a massive fleet surged from Cyprimundi, racing to enforce the Imperial Navy against the endless tides of Chaos vessels. Starting at Bellis Corona, the fleet prepared to Staging at Bellis Corona, the fleet prepared for a counteroffensive into the Cadian Gate, the threshold of the Eye of Terror. With the destruction of the Cadia and the collapse of its pylons, the Eye of Terror was unbound. The Great Rift erupted, a colossal warp scar stretching from the Eye to the Hadex anomaly, severing the Imperium of Man in twain. To those on the Terran side of the rift, it is a scar upon the scars. To those trapped beyond, in the regions like Cyprimundi, now part of the Imperium Nihilus, it's far worse, a yawning gate of hell itself, with no light of the Emperor penetrating, and every day is a battle for survival. So Cyprimundi, it seems like a lot of these originally choiced worlds were like orbital shipyards almost, so like that was their kind of main. They produce a lot of ships, essentially, is their goal.
Yeah, which makes sense that you would control regions of space based on like your space navy power, kind of like real life. You know, port control is like a huge strategic asset for like regional control. Exact same rules apply to space control, apparently. Even though space is in multiple dimensions and people keep forgetting that, but whatever.
No, if I block a planet, I only need one ship, and that's a blockade. Don't you dare go around me.
Yeah.
I'll be pissed.
Again, kind of like with that pseudo-Latin, Cyprimundi just seems to come from like Cyprus world. Cypra or Cyprus itself, though, they're not sure whether or not it comes from the word copper or for the cypress tree, like which it was named after first. But I don't think it's necessarily a linguistic link. I think it's like reflective of like the island of Cyprus, which was kind of like a gateway during the Crusades into the East and West. And it served as like a staging point. So I think that's kind of maybe their influence historically for it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Pretty well the exact same things, but instead of swords, it's chain swords. But either way, you're yelling Dia's fault, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The inspiration is clear, I think, anyways.
Yeah, I like it.
But yeah, talking about shipyards and things, let's get into the Segmentum battle fleet of the area. The fleets of Segmentum Obscurus are among the most battle-hardened of the Imperium. Forged in the fire of unending war against the Eye of Terror, constructed in mighty yards such as the Cyprimundi and the vast orbital docks of the Port Ma, these armadas are famed for their mastery of the Overlord-class battlecruiser, a warship as ancient as it is indomitable, whose prows have broken countless traitor lines. Once the Segmentum fleet was unified, its strength commanded from the fortress world of Cyprimundi. Yet the birth of the Great Rift shattered that order, sundering the fleet as it did the stars. Now half the armada remains marooned in the north of the Segmentum Obscurus Nihilist, above Cyprimundi, while the other half musters in Power Ma. Their prows turned forever outward, daring the dark to test its resolve of the Sons of Rus and the Emperor's fleets. Yeah, so they had, and it makes sense they have a super battle-hardened fleet because they prior to the outbreak of the Great Rift, like they were constantly patrolling and fighting at the Cadian Gate, or like the little splinter fleets that might have gone around the gate, they would have had to fight off. So it's cool that they're like, yeah.
I was just looking at the Fang just to kind of see what kind of space action they got, and the Fang does reach into
Orbit,
like past the atmosphere into orbit, so you can technically dock at the Fang.
I dock wherever I please, Mark.
Yes, sir. You know what docking is, my friend? Google it, and
oh, I know exactly what it is. I mean what I say.
Filthy.
All right, let's get into the Overlord class battle cruisers. The battle cruisers of the Imperial Navy was wrought by the Adeptus Mechanicus from the venerable frame of the Acheron class heavy cruiser. Forged to deliver a vessel with the relentless reach and devastating firepower of a battleship, yet in the frame of a cruiser. Beloved by Imperial captains and admirals alike, the Overlord is praised for its long-range batteries, adamantine plating, and tireless engines. Captains revere its balance of speed and endurance, while admirals laud its ability to bring the wrath of the battleship's guns to bear while still cutting through the void with the agility of a hunter. Some call the Overlord a poor man's retribution class, but those who have seen its guns speak know the truth. It is a predator among warships, breaking its peers through unyielding armor and merciless reach. To dismiss it is folly, for countless enemies of mankind have been reduced to drifting wrecks under its broadside fury. Void shields and turret arrays shroud the ship in defiance, weathering salvos and turning aside swarms of attack craft that would cripple lesser vessels. Clad in defiance, the Overlord endures the storm and strikes back twice as hard. Though its design was born from compromise, its prow armed with torpedoes rather than the Acheron's heavier guns. The change freed power for greater strength elsewhere. An upgraded dorsal lance array and endless banks of macro batteries grant the Overlord firepower across ranges no cruiser should command. This was the true vision of its makers, a warship to scour the stars with fire at impossible distances. So this thing is like, it's almost like a WMD in Warhammer 40k terms. Like, this thing can really unleash murder on people.
Yeah. Most of these starships are just like unfathomable power where if you shoot their guns at a planet, you wipe out an entire city, just crazy weapons.
Yeah.
Or you glass the planet if you shoot it enough.
Yeah. But it is interesting, like, it's sort of presented, at least the Overlord class battle cruisers are presented maybe as not the most technologically advanced, but they have biased them to be just killing machines above all else. So there is like if you use it to its advantages, it can be a very dangerous weapon.
Yeah, like lance technology, laser technology it's good. It's very useful in space, but it's not as good as plasma. The last ship we talked about was like a Nova cannon gun. It was crazy specs. I don't want to say it because I forget, but basically it was just shooting 10,000 miles in a second or like whatever. It was just destroying everything with giant plasma balls. But yeah, like this is like weaker tech, but like laser guns are still fucking sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's more just crude but powerful.
Yeah.
Yet its birth was no easy task. Oh, sorry, you want to say something, Christian?
No, I was just gonna make a dumb comparison. It's all right. Keep going.
Okay. Yet its birth was no easy task. Each Overlord must be forged with painstaking craft in the colossal forges of Cipra Mundi, the Segmentum fortress itself. Thus only a handful have ever been birthed. with a mere 3 entering the Gothic War, but those few were enough to carve their names into legend. The Overlord proved the battlecruiser concept a worthy truth, a ship built only for war, pure and unflinching. To rogue traitors, it is ill-suited, its colossal reactors straining to feed its guns. But to the Imperial Navy, it is a weapon blessed by necessity. To strip its batteries is sacrilege, a betrayal of one of the most lethal tools humanity has ever forged. Forged in the orbital hives of Cybermundi, and in rare cases elsewhere, the Overlord is painstaking to construct, but unflinching in its loyalty once complete. It wastes nothing on frail luxuries or capricious weapons. It carries no vast hangar decks or nova cannons prone to treachery. Instead, its prows are bristling with torpedoes. Its deck lined with macro cannons and lance arrays, instruments of calculated destruction that embody the doctrines of Imperial Navy. Ancient, proven, and enduring, the Overlord remains a ship of heroes, with new examples of painstakingly commissioned once every decade, each one another blade raised against the eternal night. So in like World of Warcraft terms, it's what do you call that? The warrior?
Yeah.
The guy, yeah, the guy who goes straight into battle.
Yeah.
A crude but effective tool.
Yeah.
It's interesting sometimes with 40K, you get two very distinct styles of writing. You know, you get the codex and you get novels, and it'd be interesting which one of these came up with only 3 of these ships have ever been made, and which one of these came up with there's a bunch of these ships flying around. They're commissioned every decade. Like it takes 10 years to make them, and we make a shit ton.
Yeah.
Hard to say.
Yeah, I did. On that note, it is crazy just to like try to conceptualize how long these ships take to create, and just to build. Like, you're talking like think of a city of like 5 million people. The amount of like concrete and steel that takes. That's kind of like it's kind of like what you're creating.
You got to make engines big enough to support it and push it through space and everything else.
Life support systems and it's just crazy.
Yeah. Alphys Primus asks, how easy is it for a shipyard to change production? I'll just read all the chat. Focus on this. Then Fuzz says, in 40K, I could see it being easier than in our world, but also probably depends on what they're changing production to. Technically, I could say it being easier, but I could see it the bureaucratic nature of Warhammer making it really hard to change production. Yeah, definitely something. So I don't know. What do you guys think? I think fabrication shops are usually super specific, and to change it, you're changing it to a whole new system. Like, yeah, okay, you can keep your building, but like all the tools that building are now useless. You got to fabricate a whole new lineup. So I don't think you can really change the production of these things very easy. You might like do it every now and again. Like, okay, let's do a really special ship this time. But like to change the whole, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree with both of you in the chat. Like, and not only that, like you have the bureaucracy, you have the sheer like lack of technical ability. And I mean that in the sense of like literally this factory was purpose built to this exact design, and we literally lost the technology for other things that we could build with it. And then you also layer on the religious component. Like, would it be blasphemous to retool a factory that was like sacredly appointed to do this task, right? So like, it would not be an easy process at all. Could it happen? Probably.
Sure.
Would it take a lot of time and resources and bureaucratic / religious hoops to jump through? Probably as well. So yeah.
Gotta light some candles, do all the right stuff. Pretty wild place though, Cybermundi. They have we've all heard of hives before on the ground, but these guys have orbital hives, and it just shows how big these ships that they have to make where they need to have like trillion human populated orbital hives that are just floating around the planet, just building spaceships 24/7, day in, day out. Doesn't matter about the sun.
Yeah.
You're just building.
Yeah, like your life isn't based around like a day-night cycle. It's based on like a work schedule.
Yeah.
And again,
Excellent.
everything that goes into supporting that, because you have a workforce at large, you got to support that workforce with like, you know, food and, you know, in space, it's a hostile environment, so you need like all the infrastructure to keep people alive up there, and just the resources is insane.
Yeah.
Another Star
Fuzz.
Wars reference, yeah, in the chat there, Fuzz. Just thought of it like Cloud City on steroids. Yeah, pretty much. Like, and a lot more brutal. At least Cloud City is like beautiful.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah. And then again, the battleships they're building too. Like the Overlord is like 5.3 kilometers long. What is that? What is that miles for our less refined measured distances?
I think that'd be closer to 3.
3 miles. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a ship that size. That's just one ship. Like,
Yeah.
and there are bigger ships, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
there's like 12K ones, and
yeah. Like the scale of this stuff is just mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Fuzz in the chat says no Ugnaughts, only 8-year-olds. In Cloud City, the Ugnaughts are the little pig people that like work.
Oh.
I don't know that if they're
Only
are
8-year-olds.
calling them slaves, but yeah.
Well, the 8-year-olds definitely are.
Yeah, they definitely are chain ganged and made to build the ships. So,
oh man, but they
welcome to
make
Imperium.
beautiful ships. So best ships, they're the best.
Their fingers are actually very adept at doing the fine detail work.
Yeah. Cool. So that's a fleet. It kind of gets separated. I don't know who's building the ships on the south side of the Great Rift. There's a bunch of cool spots on the north side that could make a shit ton of ships, like Port Maw, which we'll eventually talk about. But yeah, on the south side, there wasn't much. We'll jump into capital sectors now, and we'll go on the Segmentum Obscurus side, so the south side of the Great Rift. And my nomination is the Cadia sector. And yeah, you might be saying Cadia still stands, and yeah, you might be saying Cadia was destroyed. And both are true. Cadia has many planets, so even though Cadia like Prime was destroyed, there's still a bunch of planets in Cadia, and that system is still super like active and fortified, and like they've been pumping resources into this area for 10,000 years, industry, all this kind of stuff. So I think that would be my nomination. My other nomination that I was thinking of was Armageddon, and that's in this area. But Armageddon basically gets infested by demons, and is no longer really useful by the sounds of it. Like now it's in its own little fucking nightmare. So there's a couple other like possible ones. Like, okay, do you stick with Fenris if that's going to be the fortress? And it's like, not really. Like Fenris isn't industrialized. It's not a trading hub. Like the people are using bows and arrows. Like it's not a capital hub. But I think Cadia is still, the sector still is pretty good.
Yeah, I would agree. Even if Armageddon is capable, it's got its own problems. Like,
yeah,
it's a little bit.
Like I'm pretty sure it got sucked into the warp type situation and is battling demons. So yikes. Yeah, so Cadia sector, at the culmination of Abaddon's 13th Black Crusade, the Sycodex Maledictum had all but consumed Cadia. With the great pylons toppled by Abaddon's conquering hordes, the colossal warp storm of the Eye of Terra no longer held at bay, the dread powers of chaos ravaged the planet beyond recovery. And still, the neighboring worlds and star systems of Cadia remained defiant. Had Cadia not been famous for holding so long against its odds, it is likely that other planets in the Cadian system would have capitulated or given up almost immediately. No normal world could stand in the face of the horrendous, sanity-devouring armies that descended upon the Cadian Gate in such terrifying measure. However, the wider system of Cadia, Bellis Corona, and Agrippina stood fast. Perhaps just as a veteran can lead lesser men to deeds of great heroism, Cadia has inspired those worlds around it to defend every notion and city to the last bullet. Perhaps Cadia's surviving soldiery lent strength through their hunger for retribution. Perhaps these battered by the storm simply fought for survival. Whatever the reason, the defenders of the Cadian Gate resolved to uphold the virtues of the lost linchpin world, come what may. I love that. They're like, fuck you, Chaos. Now you've done it. Almost like if you assassinate somebody, it's just not good. You cross lines. In confusion of outright war, the hordes of Chaos began to turn upon themselves. Though they were ascendant, their ultimate conquest had yet to be clinched. Rival warlords, both martial and demonic, clashed over the spoils of victory not yet won. The Imperial defenders were quick to capitalize on the strategic misstep, for the many were veterans of war upon Cadia, and they knew how a good fractious army, they knew how to goad a fractious army into overextending its reach. From dissolution came destruction. Solid day by solid day, the Imperium armies clawed back a semblance of control. Soon the war zone was in contention once more, the dread stranglehold of chaos loosened by the sheer determination of the Astra Militarum and the vengeful fury of the Space Marines. Each new dawn was greeted by the scattering of ships from the Great Exodus, those fortunate souls who had braved the Imperium tempest and lived to tell of it. Again and again, the fighting escalated. The fires of war had burned Cadia to cinders, roaring to life anew upon other worlds in the Cadia system, as well as those in the Bellis Corona and Agrippina system. The broken hulk of Cadia itself was resettled by the forces of chaos following its partial destruction. It soon became a chaos stronghold at the heart of the burgeoning new renegade empire. Sometime after the Great Rift's creation, the Adeptus Custodes General Captain Trajan Valorous ordered a small, fast-moving force of Custodes to travel to the shattered hulk of Cadia. Details of their mission are suppressed even amongst their comrades, but they were accompanied by a number of warriors drawn from the ranks of the Shadow Keepers. Cadia stands. Yeah, I really like that. Like, they've done some cool stuff. Blowing up Cadia was a ballsy move. And it seems like even Cadian players like that they did it, because now it's like this whole new passion involved in it.
Yeah, it's like a hyper Nash. Oh,
Yeah.
Sorry. They actually have dug in to their Cadianism.
Yeah, to their Cadianism. Yeah, man. It's cool too that they've been able to kind of claw back. They didn't just maintain, like they lost some, they push it back. But yeah, the world of Cadia itself has been taken by like chaos forces and has now a fortress on it. But yeah, there's something happening there. What do you think of that? Like Captain General Trajan Valorous' order there of kind of, what do you think they're up to?
I don't know if they are just trying to open up like a story route, or if there is kind of an end game, or if it was just kind of intentionally like, ooh, what could they be, trying to introduce those open-ended mysteries. It might be detailed in a novel somewhere, but I haven't read it. So
I like to think they're just doing like, if we can't have it, you can't have it, and they're gonna go just like blow it up.
Yeah.
No messing
like
around this time.
scorched earth kind of thing. Like,
Jax's comment: 12 Black Crusades. Silly chaos. That 13th one. Oh, you messed up now. Yeah. So some planets in Cadia we'll go through. I'll just read them off. There's a lot of detail on a lot of these planets, and Cadia deserves its own episode. But here's some well-known ones. Porcin, used as military training ground due to its hostile environment. Cool. Probably lots of Kassakin come from there. Corollis, producer of Prometheum weapons-grade atomic materials. Okay. Kerser-Sorin, a fortress world, site of chaos victories during the Black Crusade. Cadia, the fortress world and linchpin of the sector, recently destroyed in the 13th Black Crusade. Karsar-Holm, fortress world initially defended by Space Marines, reinforced during the 13th Black Crusade, but later destroyed by Warp Cloud's demonic craft. Macaria, militarized hive world, destroyed during the 13th Black Crusade, left its orbit and fell into the sun.
As one does.
Yeah, that will happen. Fuck. Vigilatum, naval training world, overwhelmed by forces of chaos and a target of Dark Eldar slave raids during the 13th Black Crusade. Karsar Partox, a fortress world, overwhelmed by chaos during the 13th Black Crusade and some Dark Eldar raves as well. Raids, not raves. One and the same sometimes, but Saint Josemane's Hope, and this is a military prison destroyed during the 13th Black Crusade. Solar Martis, and this is a fortress world, provider of war material. Callias, ice moon, and furthest planet from the system. Yeah, lots of them were destroyed, but like they clawed most of them back. Like we got to do like a 1-for-1 real deep dive one day into like that whole system and what happens all in there. Because for the longest time, like Cadia was a planet. And then they slowly added a bunch of these, like, oh no, Cadia is a system. No, it's a sector, and they kind of expanded it bigger and bigger until it was as big as they needed it to be.
Yeah. And with the naming conventions, like often the key planet will become the name of the system. So it's an easy justification to do that, right?
Easy.
Like the planet of Baal in the Baal system, which is named after the planet, and so on and so forth, depending on how important that planet is. So
exactly. Yeah.
Right.
So that's what I nominate for the south side. Now if we go up north.
Northsiders represent the Segmentum Obscurus Nihilist. Capital sector, Port Maw. Quote, and about Port Maw were ringed by many defenses. Fortresses in orbit and platforms bristling with weapons lay in wait for an unwary attack. Minefields in abundance were there to discourage the foolish. Close quote. Lexicus Planetarium M38. Port Maw is an ancient and vast artificial world, wrought long ago by alien hands, but reforged through the blood, steel, and unyielding will of mankind into one of the mightiest harbors of the Imperial Navy. Once it stood at the edge of the Segmentum Obscurus and Ultima Segmentum, in the age when the region was known as the Manichaean Commonwealth, now it lies buried deep within the Gothic sector, its name carried by an entire subsector, its shadow cast across the stars. Claimed for the Imperium during the Great Crusade, Port Maw has known no master but the fleets of humanity, serving first the Armada Imperialis and across the long millennia the Navis Imperialis in endless vigilance. Its founding purpose was clear, a bulwark and staging ground, a place where second-line fleets could muster and resupply before the great thrust into the galaxy's northern marches. From here, warships streamed forth to guard the lifeblood of the Manichaean Commonwealth and the Cyclops cluster. Across 10,000 years of ceaseless war, Port Maw has swollen into a bastion port of colossal scale, rivaled only by the fortress wharfs of Bacca, Hydrafer, Kar Duniash, and Holy Mars itself. Today, it serves as the anchor and fortress of Battlefleet Gothic, one of the Imperium's most unbreakable bastion fleets. Though Cypher Mundi claims the title of Segmentum headquarters, it is at Port Maw that Gothic's reserve ships slumber, awaiting the call to rise once more and bleed for the Emperor. Set upon the rim of the Eye of Terror, Port Maw was never known peace. Its forges and docks thunder night and day, dispatching fleets to reinforce Agrippina and Bellis Corona, to patrol the abyssal wound of the Eye, and to answer the ceaseless cries of worlds under siege. Again and again, the enemies of the throne have cast themselves upon its walls. During the Horus Heresy, treachery strained its name, and in the Gothic War, the 12th of the Abaddon's Black Crusades, it burned beneath the despoiler's wrath. Yet through fire and ruin, Port Maw still endures, a scarred but unbroken fortress, a spear forever raised against the dark.
Give you a second to catch your breath. Port Maw is a crazy place. I've been wanting to play Battlefield Gothic since writing this, because this is kind of a lot of where it comes from. This whole system and sector and all of these different little what did they call that place? That M word that you kept saying. The Machania Commonwealth, like all that comes from.
No. hold on. I gotta interrupt. Manichaean.
Manichaean.
Yes.
that-
And actually, I'm guessing. Man, I'm always surprised at how the 40K authors are so familiar with like Christian church history, because Manichaeanism was like a Gnostic heresy in, want to say, the 6th or 7th century. And Saint Augustine, which probably a lot of people have at least heard of, one of the sort of more famous church fathers, himself was a Manichaean, but when he converted to Christianity, he sort of abandoned Manichaeanism, and it was like a Gnostic heresy. Anyways, I think it's interesting they just use that word to. I'm not really familiar with the Manichaean Commonwealth in the 40K universe, but now it's piqued my interest. I'll have to go explore it more.
Yeah. Well, don't worry. The Gothic sector is definitely on the list of places that I want to definitely dive deeper into.
Yeah.
But soon
For sure.
TM. I do really like just how this planet is actually an ancient and vast artificial world. I don't know. We kind of gloss over that a little bit there. Like, it's easy to just say that and be like, oh, okay, so we got like a huge fucking world engine type thing here.
I don't
Big
have a lot of
fight.
details around it.
Yeah.
It could be something as vast, or like, is it Necron tech or Eldar tech? But could it also be theoretically, when it says like forged or artificial, like could it have been seeded and is something more akin to like or at least was, obviously it's not anymore, but akin to like like it was artificially grown, but it was still wild. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
terraformed rather than like totally constructed necessarily.
Sure. Yeah.
I could be
Either
wrong.
way.
I'm just saying it could go either way. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get to the bottom of that, I'm sure, when we do the episode in the Gothic sector. Focus it up, and when you look at this artwork that I do have pulled up, you can't really tell much, but man, from my kind of look at it, just looks like a bunch of light stretched all across the planet, and then like a gaping chasm, like
It's like a maw.
Yeah, that's what I was
that
gonna
you
say.
got- yeah, that
Port
you can then
Maw,
fly
that's-
into, and that's like where all the shipyard is and all that kind of stuff, and like not in the core of the planet, but like I don't think this planet has a core anymore. Maybe the core fell out. I don't know.
They lost it.
They lost it. Those
They
idiots.
mined the entire planet through.
There's
Maybe-
probably some pretty crazy like metals in or near the core of a planet. Like there's probably some friggin' awesome metals you could find that
Yeah.
are almost impossible to incinerate.
Yeah, and then you make some sweet ships with that. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I think most cores of planets are like iron or nickel.
That's it.
Um,
Nothing special.
no, I mean like with the intense heat and pressure.
Have you been there, Christian?
Yes.
Have you been?
It was revealed to me in a dream.
Have you even been?
No, I think like the table of elements, I don't know if there's a lot of wiggle room for certain new elements to be discovered. But I could be wrong. Chemistry is not my strong suit.
We'll get some emails. We'll get some nasty emails about this now. Thanks, guys.
You're welcome. No, I think they're like the metals at least would be harder to discover, new metals. There could be other elements, but anyways, whatever. That's a whole side tangent.
Yeah.
Really quick too for listeners, Mark did reference Battlefleet Gothic for those who aren't aware or are too young to remember nowadays, which I hate to say because it feels like only yesterday. But Battlefleet Gothic was a tabletop game that Games Workshop had released that was focused on space combat for miniatures. So, all these big multi-kilometer cruisers and stuff. We're talking about warships you could actually like play with on the tabletop, obviously in miniature form. But
yeah, they were pretty cool. They'd have like turn radiuses and stuff, or you'd be fighting asteroid belts, all types of fun stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. I always wanted to try it out too.
There's no way that they won't remake that. It's only a matter of time. Like, there's no way.
I know.
Man. If
They rebooted a bunch of games recently, like Aeronautica Imperialis and I forget the really funny one. But, yeah, Titanicus. But Imperialis has already been discontinued, so I don't know. I don't know that it was a different era. I think they went through a strong experimental phase and brought back a bunch of sub games, and I don't know if we're in that era anymore. Or so the prophet of GW speaks. I don't know.
Now
my visions are sometimes fuzzy.
We're in kill teams and combat patrol era now.
Yeah, like I feel like early on they shot a bunch of stuff at the wall to see what would stick, and then they've carried on what did stick and dropped what didn't. But
sure.
Who knows? I'm just a guy who talks on the internet. What do I know? Anyways, back to what I was talking about. As part of the Imperium's eternal bulwark around the Eye of Terror, the High Lords decreed measures of iron and blood, the forging of the Cadian Gate, the raising of the 20 chapters of the Astartes Paraces, and the swelling of sector fleets to heights unseen since the heresy. Thus, the subsectors nearest that accursed wound were chained with war fleets, their void armadas tasked with holding the line against the traitor legions who slithered into the Eye's abyss after their betrayal. Though not directly upon the gate itself, Port Ma was bound into this vigil, elevated as a fortress seat and sector command of Battlefleet Gothic, its duty to hold and to bleed so Cadia might endure. Raised by millennia of unceasing toil, Port Ma had become a fortress world entirely, its growing strategic weight demanding the annexation of Astelica, a name now lost to void by the greater citadel if it's consumed to strengthen. The old domains of the Manichaean Commonwealth were reforged into the Port Ma subsector, a testament to the port's towering stature within the Gothic sector and all of Segmentum Obscurus. While Cypria Mundi bore the mantle of Segmentum headquarters, Port Ma stood ever as second only to it in command, a war harbor unmatched in might, its forges feeding fleets without end. As the navy forever lacks hands to crew its vast hosts, Port Ma became the graveyard harbor of Gothic's reserve fleets, warships lying in slumber until awakened to scour the void in his name. Its protection was assured by Cyclopean bastions and ever-growing rings of defense, each layer a scar of past wars, each scar a promise of vengeance. So it endures, the greatest fortress of the Gothic sector, mustering point of countless crusades, a name spoken with awe and fear across 1,000 years of ceaseless war. Again and again, the enemy has sought its ruin, in the Gothic War, in the 13th Black Crusade, under the blockade of the infamous conqueror, yet never since the Black Dawn of the heresy has Port Ma fallen. So, that's inspiring.
Yes, it is. Yeah, crazy place. I got two thoughts here. First, isn't there like a Jedi named like Cypress Mundi or something like that? He's got Kayad Mundi. Okay, he's got the cone head.
Yes.
Okay, well, I can sleep well knowing that he's out there. Is he alive and well?
No.
Tell me he's safe.
he's very much not safe.
Damn it.
I know they kill all your favorite characters.
Damn it. Okay, well, at least Cypher Mundi in 40k still endures, and so does Port Ma. It's crazy that Cypher Mundi is a bigger, more like bad harbor than Port Ma. You know what I mean? Like somehow this whole planet that's hollow on the inside isn't producing as much as as Cypher Mundi.
It could be a size thing too. Like,
sure, I guess it could be.
If you have twice as much surface area of a bigger planet and you build orbital rings and stuff, you could still pump out more.
Yeah. Width by length by radius equals time. Exactly.
Yeah. And everyone knows size always matters.
Yeah, that's what they say. It's unfortunately what they say.
All right, let's get into celestial objects. So we'll start with the Eye of Terror. It is a realm of madness and despair, where skies...
Come on, Jordan, give me a quote voice. Come on, put your back into it.
Okay, let me see who's doing the quote. Extract from Galaxia Demonica, Perpetua of Jerome. Okay, so I'll do like a Latin, like church father. The Eye of Terror is realm of madness and despair, where skies reap blood, ancient stars burn in multicolored flares, and the whims of the dark gods of chaos hold sway. Synonymous with discord, terror, ancient secrets, and insanity. No other place in the galaxy fills the mind with such dread and foreboding. Quote,
Nice.
extract from the Galaxia Demonica, Perpetua of Jerome, by order of Inquisitor Dalma, 453 M35.
That voice didn't seem too bothered by it. He's like, yeah, it's weeping blood, but it's okay. That's okay.
True.
Yeah, all
Priest
right.
has
Well, we
seen
got.
many things.
Let's put your accents to the test. We got Eldrand Uthray, the Farseer of Craft World, Uthway, who's got a nice quote.
Okay, what would that be, like a Norwegian accent or something?
No, but I'd still want you to read it in a Norwegian accent now
Yeah.
that you said it.
Yes, yes.
Well, no, what
And
would that
He's,
be?
he's an Eldar.
He- yeah.
Oh, another.
Summon your
Well,
inner
I
Legolas.
feel just like aristocratic
Yeah,
British.
like I was going French. I was thinking pompous French
Oh
guy.
yeah, you could do
But
that.
either way, yeah.
All the stars in the sky cannot blot out the hateful glare of the red moon's eye. The birthing place of the great enemy pulses with all the malices of a demon that is dreaming, casting its shadow over all we have ever done and all we ever shall. Eldrad Uthran, Farseer of Crossworld, Uthway. The Eye of Terror is an area of the galaxy where the warp and real space overlap. A ship can enter the warp without a warp drive, simply by crossing its border. The area used to be the domain of the old Eldar Empire. When Slaanesh was born, the energy of their birth it permanently breached the veil between real space and the warp. All the planets and the stars that existed in that area are now within the warp. These worlds have become demon worlds. At the very center of the eye lies the Byssos, a hole in the fabric of reality, through which raw chaos energy pours out.
Yeah. You know it. You love it. The Eye of Terror, everyone. What else can be said? I've never heard of that biosis term before. The hole in the fabric of reality, like the very center point, the very focal point.
It feels somewhat redundant because I feel like isn't the warp a hole in the fabric of reality? But okay, sure.
I almost see it like this. Okay, so we love the water analogies. So let's say you take an air balloon and you put it underwater and it's submerged, and you just poke a little hole into it so that the air is coming out that little hole, and then you kind of get these bubbles shooting out and doing all types of crazy things. So it's almost like that little hole is what they're talking about, where you then get these like warp breaches that are coming out of it. And you got this like fully contained thing, and maybe not my best example, but I'll get chatbot on it. It's fine. You'll come up with something better. But another place we have next to the Eye of Terra is the Cadian Gate. We talked about a lot this episode, but here's some more little details on it. The world of Cadia stood as the closest sentinel to the most stable wound in reality. The dreaded Cadian Gate, the corridor into the Eye of Terror itself. For 10 millennia, it was forged into Imperium's most militarized bastion, a fortress world without peer, the bulwark that bore the endless brunt of the arch enemy's assaults. This precarious stability was wrought by the enigmatic Cadian pylons, black monoliths of Necron design planted long before man's first breath. Part of the ancient race's attempt to sever the warp forever from the realm of flesh. Through this gate poured the fleets of damnation, and for through few dared enter the eye, The warp vomited forth its legions without ceasing. At the head of the tide was War Master of Chaos, Abaddon the Despoiler, whose 13th Black Crusade in 999 M41 unleashed a tempest on the sundered star systems and turned all eyes to Cadia's fate. Against this onslaught, the Imperium sent its finest, the Black Templars, the Imperial Fist, Dark Angels, Space Wolves, and unnumbered guardsmen of Cadia itself, each bleeding to hold the line. Yet even such might could not halt the War Master's hand. Cadia burned, and it fall shattered the linchpin of the gate's defenses. From its death knell came the Noctis Eterna, when the Astronomica guttered. And the galaxy was torn asunder by the yawning birth of Great Rift. Yeah. The Cadian Gate, one thing I didn't mention or write down was they did found, I forget when, but there was like 12 dedicated chapters founded to just defending this area. And they have like a specific name for it too. And I think they cycle chapters in and out of this. Maybe when we read in the next thing, I'm going to find that little detail just to show like how fortified Cadia was. You got 12 or 12 chapters defending just one spot. It's unheard of.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite the commitment of resources. The Molianus Reach. The Molianus Reach is a region of space that lies by Segmentum Obscurus. Centered around a blue star, the Molianus Reach is a graveyard of wrecks and space hulks that get deposited there from a nearby warp storm. The Reach is controlled by the Imperium that maintains a massive space station as well as an Imperial Navy presence. The main purpose of the station is to prevent nearby orc empires from gaining the graveyard for salvage. That's really cool. That's it kind of reminds me of the garbage patch in the ocean. It's just like a collection point of like all the debris in the galaxy.
Yeah.
And it's funny that they're protecting it from orcs who are gonna like, yeah, that thing would be a gold mine for orcs. The things they can do with that.
The Imperium's like, it's wrecked, but if orcs get a hold of it, I don't know what they're gonna do, but it's not gonna be good. Just going back to those Astartes chapters, there was 20 of them, and they're called the Astartes Perilous. And they were founded with the express purpose of guarding the region surrounding the Eye of Terra. We're not sure where this leaves the order, but to me, it's like, okay, if Cadia fell, there's still the Cadian system. Like, you're still doing your thing. They're still out there. They have a lot of them named, but then they have some that are not. So if you wanted to join this kind of brigade, you could definitely get in on it.
All right, let's get into the Boros Gate. Located in Segmentum Obscurus, the Boros Gate is a vital strategic location, as it is home to wormholes that lead to permanent stable warp routes from the Eye of Terra region that would allow for quick travel to Terra. Only the Cadian Gate was more prized and more heavily guarded by the Imperium. For 10,000 years, the forces of chaos made unsuccessful attempts to take the Boros Gate, most notably forces from the Iron Warriors and Death Guard. Nonetheless, it was said that the Boros Gate was the staging ground for the end times, according to Wordbearer's prophecy, known as the Rubric Apocalyptica. Shortly after the 13th Black Crusade, the Wordbearers, Dark Council of Sycharis, prepared a massive offensive against the Boros Gate to pave the way for Abaddon's attack. Ultimately, however, due to an internal coup within the Wordbearers and Necron intervention, the Imperial defenders, which included the White Consuls and Grey Knights, were saved.
Cool. Yeah, so this is the lesser known gate in and out of the Eye of Terror. And I believe this is like, so if Cadia is on the south side, this one is on the north side. So both sides of Segmentum have one way in and out that are stable. So both sides have to kind of almost maintain two fortresses on both ends now. Otherwise, it's really going to be an issue. Because the Boros Gate, they used to not really use it. It was a back door, you know, and they would then go around. But now it's like not really a back door. the second main door. And the final area that we will talk about tonight, if you want to call in, I did drop a link in the description below. But the final area is the Nachman Gauntlet. Set amidst the corpse of Cadia and the howling wound of the Eye of Terra, the Nachman Gauntlet for a time stood as the only stable artery through the Cicatrix Maledictum, a lifeline of strategic worth and the desperate road by which uncounted Imperial refugees clawed their way to survival. In the age of Indomitus Crusade, a second passage was torn open, christened the Attilian Gate, though both paths soon reeked of blood and war. Now both the northern and southern reaches of the gauntlet groaned beneath the endless sieges of the arch-enemy. Though the Imperium holds as much corridor still, the Nachman Rift War saw nearly all of its northern span drowned in darkness, the Imperium forced to bleed its might into the forging of the Sanctus Wall, a bastion raised to halt the Black Legion and their herald of ruin, hearken World Claimer. Beyond the wall, scattered worlds cling to Imperial banners, isolated and abandoned, to endure the coming storm with only half their faith and their guns. The fate of the corridor worsened yet, and with their sundering, the Sangua Terra, I've never heard of that before, but whose fall to chaos stripped hope from countless billions and left the gauntlet a battlefield of fire without end. Yeah, so the Nachman Gauntlet, it was a first stable route through. It sounds like now there are more and more kind of appearing, which is nice that they open that up where you can now write your own little warp route through and create your own little bastion world or whatever you want to do. It's always nice when they leave that little bit of room for you. Yeah. Well, that is what we have on this one. I think that's a great overview where now we're going to really be able to dive into some of these places. You kind of got the layout of it all and whatever. We got a call in here. Fuzz, give me a little nod if you're ready. Hey, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Doing good. So, let's maybe start there, Fuzz.
Wait. Fuzz, are you in a different room today than I'm?
Yeah.
used to?
Yeah, a bit ago I moved my actual computer from what was up in my bedroom, and I've been slowly working on moving our
Looks like the kids'
toy.
room.
Oh yeah, I'm moving the kids' toy room slowly around into what will be the family computer room.
Nice.
So this is not like a lifestyle change you're going with. You're not.
not quite.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Yeah, so let's start off in the chat on the Discord there. You had some interesting thoughts there about just expanded galaxy, like what's on the outside of the galaxy. The one thing that caught my attention, you mentioned carbon-based life forms. Man, and I could open a dictionary, or you could tell me exactly what that is and then tell me what a non-carbon-based life form is. Give me some breakdowns here.
I mean, the basis of it is, I believe, all known life on our planet like starts at like a carbon base. Like that's like the building block that living things on our planet are based off of. And I mean, the idea is that like, could there be other, life out there that is built off of other elements? There's a show on Netflix called Another Life that I was watching, and it's one of the things I think about when this happens, because they go out into space and do exploration, and one of the crew members gets infected by a virus that's like silicon based, I think, and it basically turns it infects their nervous system and makes their nervous system rip itself out of their body and like start moving around. It's real fucking weird. But anyway, all that to say is like, what are other life forms made of? Like, are Tyranids, like, are they like silicone based? Are they, mercury based? What, because they eat all of our biomass. So what parts of that biomass are they using for like what purposes? Is there like a certain thing, like element that they're consuming that is the core of their structure? Which in theory could also like lead to better technologies for fighting them.
Sure. Another, I guess, example of a non-carbon based life form, or like a really good example would be like the Satan, where they're like raw energy,
Mhm.
you know. So how that's not like us. That's a very different thing.
Exactly.
I think there is a theory that a silicon-based life form could like better interface with technology than carbon-based life forms. So you could, maybe someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but the Cylons in Battlestar Galactica are perhaps a silicon-based life form. I'm not sure.
I think
Uh,
they're created by humans. I don't know what they're. I'm pretty sure they're created by humans.
Yeah,
And then
but
they rebelled.
perhaps they are like silicon created by humans though, but making them a silicon. I don't know. Someone could correct me on that. But
Oh.
I think because a lot of like hypothetically a lot of technology could actually there's even like theories of silicon based chips that could hold like way more memory than our so it's just kind of interesting like hypothesizing in your own head what a silicon based like could be
Yeah.
capable of if it were to arise somewhere in the universe and how dangerous it could possibly be.
Yeah, because like you said, I mean, who knows how they would interact with like our technology or just interact with our physiology or other
Yeah.
species physiology, or could they just like melt into our ships and then melt out the other side of it? Yeah, it's not like phasing, but like
Yeah.
go through walls or whatever.
Totally.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought. I don't know much about Battlestar Galactica, but if Cylons are like created, then yeah, they if they're not cyborgs and made with like fleshy bits, then they're probably not carbon-based life.
Yeah.
Same would go for any kind of robotic life that you'd create because they're built out of like inorganic compounds and metals, right? There would be carbon in the metals, but it's not the carbon that's like the main factor in what they're composed of. I think though, just because something is like, I like the idea of what you're saying, like we don't know how they would interface with technology and stuff, but it's also similar, like you can't breed a human and a tree. Like we're both carbon-based life,
Yeah.
but we are still different enough that there are limitations around interfacing. It would be easier than breeding with a rock, for example, because the rock has no organic components, but still like nothing's going to come of that. Whereas like the same could be for like an artificial life form based out of another element. Like it might be a little more work for it to interface with your technology, but not to say it couldn't be a cool element of it. I just wanted to throw the other side of that coin out there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, like just because like it's like something has the same base material,
Doesn't necessarily mean
evolution.
it's compatible.
Yeah, exactly.
You wouldn't fuck a tree. You wouldn't
Well-
fuck a rock.
Bold statement, Mark. Depends how lonely I am.
Let's not get carried away here.
Oh man. Well, what other kind of thoughts do you have about the Segmentum Obscurus?
I mean, I really like it. I came in a little bit late into the episode. Is the Segmentum Obscurus fully in the Imperium Nihilus, or I guess or is the Imperium Nihilus like take up all of the Segmentum Obscurus?
I think if we were to give it like an honest breakdown, we would say 3/4 of the Segmentum is on the far side of the rift. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just like the idea of the far side of the Great Rift in general. Like some of the RPGs take place on that side. It's very different. Like it's very much a do whatever you have to survive. So like, let me look at one of the maps again real quick. So it's like think of like Cybermundi or Port Maw. You might have a greater. Is Port Maw on the other side of the?
Yeah, it's on the far
Yeah.
side.
Okay, yeah, that's right. You might see a greater diversity of species than you would on the Imperium side of the Great Rift, just because you have to, in some instances, adapt your thinking to work with other species, work with Xenos to survive. There's just too many demons that if somebody else is going to fight the demons, you have to fight the demons with them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. I wonder too, like, maybe that's not quite the thought I'm gonna share. Never mind. I'll try to
thinking
formulate
about
that better
trees,
before I
weren't you?
speak it. Yeah, I'm thinking about the
Just
Nasty boy.
trees. Yeah,
You're an ecosexual now.
I hate that.
I also like it does look like that the Segmentum Obscurus does incorporate a lot of the sectors that are from like some of the RPG systems, if not all of them, maybe.
Yeah. A lot of them are up that way, just because I think you get all the chaos up that way. But I like what you said, like about the Xenos allowance. But also there'd be some allowance too of like not heretical stuff. Like chaos is still not allowed, but like more just like I don't know about the Imperium. I don't like chaos, but I don't know about the Imperium. Like you'd get a lot
like
more of that too.
Rebels,
Like, yeah.
non-chaotic rebel factions.
Yeah,
I'm a huge fan of. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because as much as there is like still the Imperium presence there, they're going to be stretched so thin. They're gonna have bigger fish to fry than to go stop every little warlord who's taking a planet or whatever away from them.
Yeah, and it's almost like, okay, well, as long as that warlord looks after the planet, I guess he can have it. Like,
yeah,
better than chaos.
keep it demon free until we can take it back, please.
Yeah, exactly.
But you also have room for any other kinds of stories. You can have piracy. You can have unsanctioned human Xenos relations. Like there's all kinds of directions you can kind of get away from the oppression of the Imperium to explore other routes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So up on that side of the Great Rift, they can play Kill, Fuck, Marry, Xenos. And it's okay. It's fun. It's a fun little game to play.
I'm not going to say it's okay, but
it's fine.
As long as you don't get caught. That's all.
Yeah.
And he trade a storm, right?
Yeah. Marry the orc, fuck the Eldar, kill the Tau, I guess is the order we're going with for me. Yeah. Well, that's a fun episode. Any other thoughts there, Fuzz?
Oh, I'm sure I could bring in more thoughts, but I don't want to run you out of too much time.
All right. Well, there's always we got a couple more of these Segmentum ones, so maybe we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, and then there were 3. Oh, whoa! Look at our screens now. They're never like this. Wow, worth the $5 for the sign up. Yeah, so we got 2 more episodes like this. The next one I think are gonna go south, all the way south to the Segmentum Tempestus will be our next little spot here. I don't know much about that one, honestly. Like, I don't even know what chapters are down there. Like, I could name a couple of the big locations. Like, obviously, I know where Ultramar is, but I don't know what's really down there. So it'll be fun to kind of explore, poke open that section of the galaxy and see what we find. Let's do some quick end of the show notes. If you like listening to me talk about 40K, come check out Lorehammer Listen, a lore podcast. It's a podcast where I read out homebrew lore. You can submit your lore to lorehammerpodcast@gmail.com, and I'll eventually read it off. The inbox, goes up, and I file stuff away as read, unread, and it's all organized. It'll happen eventually. Come join Lorehammer Listen to lore.
If you want to listen to us talk about other life forms, come listen to me and Jordan talk about the Star Wars galaxy in the Star Lores podcast, where we explore the galaxy far, far away.
Here's maybe a quick question about Star Wars. Do you ever get kind of any of these, like, we talk about 40K and the historical connections or comparisons? Does Star Wars ever really do anything like that? Or
there's a few. They're not as blatant as 40K. You do have
that would be the word, blatant. Yeah.
You have like whole crusade eras and like a pope-like figure, and like the Jedi draw a lot on like Eastern mythology, Sith. Like
there's more like overtones than like obvious, like just borrowing. Like 40K borrows a lot of direct like we were talking about today, like Manichaeans. That's just
Yeah.
literally taking a word from history and applying it to your universe, right? But in Star Wars, there's a lot more. I don't know.
Subtlety.
Yeah, subtlety. Like
Or almost more like philosophy comparisons, like as
yeah,
opposed
but
to history.
even like George Lucas was in the sort of, when Star Wars came out, it was like sort of the milieu of the Vietnam War, and sort of the end of that, and you can kind of get a lot of those overtones even in the original trilogy, but it's not very on the nose, you know.
Yeah,
It's more subtle.
really. Yeah. Well, now we know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually have an
know all
episode
there is.
dedicated to that.
Oh.
I think it's the historiography of Star Wars. It's one of our earlier episodes. So if people are interested, go check out that episode.
Cool,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, go check out Star Wars podcast. All right, well, we'll see you all on the next episode. Adios and have a good one.
See you.
Bye.